Hey guys, it's me. I have a quick couple of thoughts I want to share with you guys. Those of you who know me have known that I've been a Christian for a long time. I was in ministry for a number of years, and then I wasn't for a while, and that was a hard transition for me. And for the past, I don't even know, 6-7 years maybe, just been kind of distracted, been drifting along, floating along, and not intentionally really living intentionally, living out my faith, I guess. I haven't been intentionally living out my faith in the world around me. I'd say for about the past year, about a year ago, God kind of helped me to get my head pulled out of my rear, and to get my focus back on Him, and to get my heart back where it needs to be. And so I think during that time when I was kind of drifting along, just kind of letting life pull me along, running my business, making money, trying to pay the bills, and but internally sort of also feeling a deep frustration that I wasn't living out things that are important to me, like my calling, and what I know to be true about my responsibility as a believer, and to the church and to the world around me. I think I was just sort of numbing myself, keeping myself busy, and just going through the motions. But during that time, it's like in the absence of the gospel and intimacy with God, and a deepness to my spiritual walk, and engaging in the mission of the church and what God had called me to do, and who He had called me to be as a man, and as a believer. I think it's like something else is going to fill that place, right? And so I don't know if we just sort of default back to other things. Like for me, it would be just sort of a discontent with the way that the world is going on around me, frustration with people that don't see the world how I see it, a hyper focus sort of on politics, like looking for solutions to the problems of the world by putting my hope in other people, broken, messed up, jacked up people, which all of us are, and sort of took that out on the people around me, the friends, family, or just other people that I would meet that didn't quite see things the way that I saw them, belligerent about things. And so, like I said, about a year ago, I had COVID, spent about 10 days in my RV, and really during that time, I feel like God just called me back to Himself in a way. I spent the first night in the RV watching Cobra Kai, and then after that, for the next 9 days, I was just like, no, I'm not going to turn the TV on. And I just got into the Word, I got into prayer, I got into His presence, and He began to speak to me, and He began to remind me who I was, and call me back to be that man again. And as I'm looking around over this past year, I've been just pushing in and pressing into that, not wanting to just go running off in some direction because I'm familiar with it, ministry-wise or otherwise. Just trying to stay in this place of communion with God, intimacy with Him, being the man that I know He's called me to be, being the husband I know He's called me to be, being the father He's called me to be, being the business owner and the friend, and the boss, and every other aspect, and all the other hats that I wear. Really trying to just give my life to Him and submit my my way to him and let him take my life and make of it whatever he wants out of all of it. In doing that, I have been able to really move back, little by little, move back into a place of feeling a sense of calling, and having a real voice and a message. A lot of times just for individuals, just for people, for myself, for people that are close around me. But anyways, just feeling like more connected into the heart of God and what he's desiring and wanting of me and of the other people around me. Not of them so much, but for them, And so something that's been on my mind is that I look around me and I'm seeing a lot of my friends and my family members that are in the same place that I've been. And so this doesn't come as like me trying to bring correction from some sort of sense of superiority, but me sort of realizing from a kind of a humble place of realizing that, man, I feel like I wasted like 6 or 7 years of my life just drifting, being adrift, just being pulled along with the currents, like wherever life took me, and not living into my purpose. And like I've been given one life to live on this earth, and in that time, it's like there's people in my life that need to know my Savior. They need to know him. They need to have the opportunity to know him and be saved by him and be loved by him, and be sanctified by him in the same way that I have. They need to have that same opportunity. And yet I'm too busy being mad at my neighbor because he's got a Joe Biden sign in his yard or something like that. And it's like, I think about it. Our purpose, guys, as the church is not to call the world around us to morality. I mean, you know that, right? I think we forget that. Like, our purpose and our calling and our mission on this earth as disciples of Christ, as the sons and daughters of God, is not to call the people around us to live moral lives. Like, that's not a high enough goal. That's not the prize. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. It's to implore them to be reconciled to our Savior, who loves them as much as he loves us. When did Jesus ever speak like haughtily or judgy to a sinner, to someone who knew they were a sinner, right? When did he ever do that? He was the opposite. He was compassionate toward them. He was loving toward them. Even when he was speaking truthfully to them and directly to them, he was loving and he was compassionate. He never came off really as harsh or judgmental or morally superior, even though he was the only one who ever was morally superior. He spoke harshly to the religious hypocrites, right? Never to the lowly sinner. It was to the religious hypocrite, the one that thought he had his stuff all together and who was pointing his crooked finger at everybody else. And I say this because, and I'm speaking to myself, right? I'm in my truck. There's a rear view mirror right here. I'm saying this to myself, Jeff. Our hypocrisy is on display before the world all day long, every single day of our lives. And us calling people to morality and to live morally is ridiculous. It's laughable because they see our hypocrisy right in front of their face. We have no business correcting other people's morality until we pull the big plank out of our eye. Our business and our mission on this earth is telling people about our Savior, who loves and saves us despite all of our flaws. and despite all of our hypocrisy, and who will do the exact same thing for them. And that's the gospel, and that's what we should be about. And so I say this to myself, and I say it to you, my friends who are believers. And if you've been feeling adrift, and if you've been feeling like lost and a little spun out, maybe a little disillusioned by the politics and by living for things that are less than God's best for his children, then I would recommend to do as I've been doing and just come back. That old song, "Come Back to the Heart of Worship," right? Which just means come back to him. Come back to him. Come back to your Father who loves you and has not ever stopped loving you, and who's ready to just take you back in and hold you close and embrace you, and then lift you up to the place of a son or a daughter where you're supposed to be. All right? Thanks for listening.